Okay, you guys know the drill by now. Last month I asked a boatload of people to rate their favorite friendships. They did. I analyzed the results and made this tier list based on that data. Also, the villains tier list is now open for rating, so if you want your vote counted in that one, you can head down to the description and find the poll there. Now, let's rank some friendships. So, because there are so many friendships in the series, I had to be really strict with which ones I allowed in the video, which meant if two characters were in a canon relationship, they weren't friends. So, they're not on the list. But with that out of the way, we begin with some characters who definitely were friends, even though Starflight did his best to change that for a little while. The Dragonets of Destiny. I debated doing all the individual pairings for these 5, but there were just too many, so I made them one big blob, and I am so happy to tell you that the Dragonets of Destiny finally get the appreciation they deserve and make their way into S tier. I feel like they have been consistently underrated, except Glory, in every tier list I've ever made, so I'm just so happy to see them finally in the spotlight, grabbing that big S tier spot. Deserved, so deserved. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Blister and Morrowseer, the Sand War duo. These two together absolutely ruined the continent for like 20 years. Blister started the war, and Morrowseer made sure it kept going. But despite all the wonderful times that they schemed and murdered together, their friendship didn't even reach B tier. It officially ended up in D. But there aren't that many friendships that sunk that low, so I didn't want to take up any extra space with their tomfoolery. Back to the good ones, we have Tamarin and Kinkajou, one of the first genuine friendships outside the Dragonets of Destiny that was introduced. They take the first spot in A tier. I think they pair really well together, and although we didn't get to see them interact often, when we do, it's usually a treat. Now, for our next Kinkajou friendship... Kinkajou is friends with everyone, and I think it really shows because even though I was very selective with what friendships made it into this list, she still shows up like 3 times. But our next one is Glory and Kinkajou. It's usually more of a mother-daughter dynamic, or maybe like a big and little sister sort of thing, but they do have some really good scenes together, so I think they earned their spot in A. And Glory's other friendship pairing is with her half-brother Jambu, or Jambu, or something. Jambu's over-the-top silly demeanor contrasts nicely with Glory's sarcastic, serious one, and he really does help her out quite a bit in Book 3. Ultimately, they ended up in B tier, which is to say, not bad. Sunny and Fatespeaker are next. These two are so interesting for so many reasons, and if you want to see more detailed analysis of that, I have a video on it, but I just personally love the idea of there being 2 Sunnys in the world, and I also love their introduction to each other. Fatespeaker is getting all jealous about how Starflight talks to Sunny, but then Sunny is just herself, and they immediately become good friends. What a fun friendship. Well, anyway, they get B tier as well, placing just below Glory and Jambu. Oh, and would you look at that, Kinkajou shows up yet again, this time with Moon. What a fun duo these two are. Kinkajou's rambunctious friendliness matches up so nicely with Moon's reserved kindness, and as they become more comfortable with one another, their friendship only gets better. I wish we'd seen more of them, to be honest, because they were a lot of fun, and I think you all agreed because they took a place in A tier. Next up is Ginter. This is a friendship I love to see. They're so funny together. I mean, of course, Qibli with anyone is a great time, but there's just something about Winter's stuck-up but slightly oblivious attitude that make these two combine so very, very well. Now, I know Tricky Talon disagrees with me on this one, and he raises good points. There are issues with the way these two interact, but I think of it like eating fast food. Is it a little unhealthy? Yeah, but it makes me happy, so I like it anyway. In any case, the masses spoke, and you already know what I'm about to say. The data doesn't lie. They are S tier. Now, if Kinter, the friendship, is like fast food, then Winter Watcher, the friendship, is like gold french fries. Also unhealthy, and not even that good. I'm so sorry to all you Winter Watchers out there. Moon is good for Winter, really good for Winter. She helped him overcome a lot of the issues he struggled with, but Winter is not good for Moon, even just as friends. Still, despite their issues, they do have some pretty good moments. Looking at you, Book 6 finale. Good stuff, so at least they make it into B tier. And the last of the trio is Moonblee. Oh wait, they're not friends. Again, I'm so sorry, Winter Watchers. The joke was too easy to make. I swear, Winter's a great character. I mean, he is in S tier here, so that's gotta count for something, right? Okay. I'm done. Moving on, we have Moon and Darkstalker. I don't know if it was because she reminded Darkstalker of Clearsight, or if it was because she was the only one he could talk to while he was trapped, but for some reason, Moon is the only dragon in the second arc that Darkstalker actually seems to care about. There's always this sense of underlying care in their friendship. He helps her with her prophecy and mind-reading powers, saves her life on at least one occasion, and she, in turn, tries her best to be his moral compass. She is like his tether to sanity. So they ended up in low A tier, held back, I think, by the fact that he does withhold some pretty important information from her, and that, in the end, he doesn't trust her vision and has to be tricked into eating the strawberry. I didn't actually have this friendship in the ratings, but enough people requested it that it was added in. And on that topic, we interrupt this broadcast to show off some funny suggestions people put in for the rankings. Sky and snails. Yeah. Hi, I like bread. Okay. Wren and murder basket. That's a good one. I like that. Oh, Blob, Indigo, and Fathom. I think that counts more as a relationship, but Blob is great, so I'll allow it. Qibli and Reader. I love that. Oh, Qibli and JMA. Aw, wait, you guys. JMA and viewers? That's the best one. That is the S tier friendship for me. That is my OTF, my one true friendship. Okay, back to the official list. We have a friendship I didn't include in the survey, but enough people requested that I had to include it here. Qibli and Thorn. Definitely also a parent-child dynamic, but a really good one. I love the end of Qibli's flashback when we see him finally get some positive attention in his life, and he decides he'll be loyal to Thorn forever. It's such a heartwarming scene. Plus, it really is fun to see Qibli get put in his place from time to time, and Thorn might just be the only dragon alive able to do that. Iconic duo, some of the biggest, coolest brains on the continent, and very deserving of their spot in A. Next up is Turtle and Peril. Also really solid friends. When I asked the community about which friendships to include in this list, I think Turtle and Peril were the most mentioned friendship. Neither character really had a solid friend group before Book 8, so when they team up together and actually seem to get along as friends, it's kind of something special. They get into A tier, and I hope we get to see more of them in the future. The sibling pair, Blue and Luna. Even if we don't get to see them interact anywhere near as often as I would have liked, because, Luna was kidnapped for the first half of the book, then she was blown off to a different continent for most of the arc, and when she finally did return, Blue as a plant zombie who didn't even show up in person or in Dragon until the epilogue, whatever. Even if we didn't get to see them interact that much, their flashback scenes are really good. They get into A-, despite the fact that we really didn't see much of them together, so yeah, I think that's kind of impressive. In a similar vein, we have Blue and Swordtail, except these two do get page time together. I'll be honest, I was not sold on the friendship between these two at first. Swordtail wanted to be loud and charge in at every opportunity, while Blue was usually just wanting people to be nice to each other. But then we get the flashback scene with them in school, and Swordtail and Luna are watching out for Blue, and I just really like that. Well, they get B tier, so fair enough. Next is Cricket Sundew, the dynamic duo of complete opposites who actually get along surprisingly well. They don't try to be funny when they're together, but because of how differently they view the world, I think they do often end up being a pretty funny pair. And between Cricket's brains and Sundew's uncontainable rage, they get the job done, taking a spot at the top of B tier. Okay, back to Pyria, we have Glacier and Jerboa III. Their mutual understanding and respect for one another is what I think drives this friendship. I wonder how many queens Jerboa III has interacted with in her time, and how many of them were as chill as Glacier. Probably not many, so these two get A-. Next up is Snowfall and Lynx. Can you guess where they ended up? Oh, S tier, you say? What was that? The top of S tier? Dang right they are. These two shoot up to the very tippy top of the rankings, just barely beating out Kinter and the Dragonets of Destiny. I think Tui just has a knack for writing grumpy, serious IceWings paired up with silly, happy bundles of joy. They're just so much fun to watch together. Then we go from silly and fun to heart-wrenching. The Dusky Freedom friendship developed over the course of about a half of a book, but quickly became one of the most meaningful friendships in the series, I think. It's an exploration of loss, of forgiveness, and of what it truly means to be friends. So yeah, they get A-. Pretty cute and also pretty sad. Yeah, now it's the Wren and Sky duo, the best human dragon combo in this series. If you haven't read Dragon Slayer yet, you are missing out. They're pretty fun in books 14 and 15, but they really shine in Dragon Slayer. Just so much fun to watch them be best buds, looking out for each other in the wild, doing silly things, and looking for snails. They are at the very highest position in A tier. I really, really hope there's a Dragon Slayer 2 and that we get to see more of them and all their silly antics. Our other Dragon Slayer squad is Violet and Daffodil. Now, I'm just gonna be upfront and say it. These two are underrated. You put them in B tier and they deserve so much better. I love these two. They're so smart and dedicated and good at what they do. Plus, they're pretty fun with their constant disagreements. But alas, they are humans in a series about dragons, so they are stuck below the rest. And next are Dune and Six Claws, a friendship that really only appears in a single winglet, despite both characters existing in the main series for various amounts of page time. It was pretty fun to see Six Claws' backstory and to get a better sense of who Dune was. Unfortunately for them, Byrne was a less than great commander, and they got B tier as well. Okay, rewind it back 2,000 years and we have Clearsight and Listener. Definitely fun friends to watch, especially with Listener's insistence on never knowing her future. I only wish they'd been able to say a more proper goodbye to one another before it all fell apart. They get into A-. Just like our next friendship, Clearsight and Fathom, part of the trio, the iconic squad, these two are both such kind, gentle souls. If any pair could have saved Darkstalker's soul, it was these two. Unfortunately, they were forced to save the world instead. And the one other pairing in this group, Darkstalker and Fathom. They had so many great things and so many terrible ones. I mean, Darkstalker enchanted a bell to ring whenever Fathom was feeling sad and lonely so he would know he needed to go be a good friend, and that's just so cute. But he also turned Fathom's true love into a statue and lied to him about where she went, so that's not cute. At the end of the day, they balanced into B tier. Perhaps in another timeline they could have been the best of friends. Two animus besties just making the world a better place. But it was not meant to be. And finally, we have what some would refer to as the best friendship in the series. And those people would be entirely wrong. They get F tier. The false Dragonets of Destiny also were not on this list, but I think almost everyone in the extra section rated them either a 1 out of 10 or a negative number. They're just so toxic. If there was a tier below F, they would be in that one. But there isn't, at least not on this list. So here are your official rankings for the community tier list. Which did you agree with? Which did you disagree with? Let everyone know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.